everyone, and welcome to episode 26 of Trapped in My Mind. I'm your host, Seth, and today with me, I have Marlon.
Thank you for having me, Seth. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for coming out. So we went to the same high school. What middle school did you go to?
I went to Emerson.
And elementary?
Hayes.
Oh, shit, dude.
You went to Hayes, right?
Yeah. So we went to the same school. You were a grade above me, though, right? 2014?
2014, yeah.
Okay, so same school pretty much our whole lives. Never really mingled for, I don't really know.
Seeing each other passing through the hallways.
Yeah, exactly.
That's about it, but yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, surprised when I saw you reach out, but I love when, people who I know but not well reach out. It's always cool to, learn about somebody who I knew existed but didn't know much about. So thank you for reaching out. I think that's awesome. One thing that I know you kind of gave me a couple topics you want to talk about, and one thing that I'm always interested to hear anybody talk about is art and music, because I mean those are some like passions of mine. So what specifically were you kind of thinking about talking about when you introduced that topic?
Well, I would say, within the past year, like I developed a pretty profound interest in the arts, I guess you could say. Mostly, definitely music and like things like dancing and painting. I've gotten into painting, but music specifically, which was the topic that I brought up. I've exposed myself to a lot of different genres, different artists, and just the power behind music and learning how like music is made and like the soul and the passion that is put into it. Like music is, and I think a lot of people would agree with this, music for me is one of my primary forms of therapy. If I've got a emotional playlist. If I'm in a bad mood, like I'll listen to some sadder type music. If I'm in a good mood, I'll listen to some more upbeat type music, and just the different range of emotions that you can channel music through. It's quite fascinating to me, and I don't talk about it much with other people, and so I wondered what some of your takes on it would be.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that you have a playlist for like when you're feeling sad, you're feeling happy, because I would agree with you. If when I'm sad, I want to listen to sad music. Where I feel like a lot of people will be like, listen to happy music, it'll boost your, it'll switch your mood. But it's like, if I'm sad, I want to explore that mood. And this playlist of really depressing music kind of helps me navigate my thoughts and see it through instead of avoiding it and jumping to the next thing. So it's interesting to hear that you do that.
And it's like, it's kind of like, I always kind of like describe it like a roller coaster. It's like if you're feeling in those down type moods, and then you get happy and you start listening to that happier type music, it's more profound. If you come out of a kind of a bad spot, maybe you're going through some stuff, and then things start picking up, and you start listening to that happier music, you start to think about life and how things brighten up, if you keep going through the crap.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I didn't, although I think I recognized it, I haven't like first person recognized it. And what I mean by that is, like you said, when you listen to happy music and you're in a happy mood, it's more profound than if you're listening to happy music and you're in a sad mood, because although it might help turn your mood around if you're sad listening to happy music, or vice versa, it's not like you don't. Well, at least for me, I don't feel as much like emotional tied to the music if I'm not in the same mood as the music I'm listening to. Is that what you're kind of saying? Because that's what I pulled from.
So you said I know, like you said earlier, if you're sad, you want to listen to sad music, and because you want to explore it. Do you feel like you're obligated to kind of like attend to those like sad feelings? Or okay.
Because otherwise, I feel like I'm ignoring them, and then, well, really, you're not facing it, right? So if I'm sad and I'm like, okay, well, how can I just get happy again? Put on happy music. Am I happy again, or did I just not figure out why I'm sad? If I'm sad, and that's the thing too, is sometimes I'm sad and maybe I think I know why or I don't know why. But if I put on music and I hear different lines of lyrics, or I hear a certain beat, it's like, holy shit, this artist is sad for this reason, and that for some reason I relate to that. So it just helps me find out why I'm sad.
Like it just hits you. Yeah. Like a certain line will just be that's what I'm going through.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's and it makes you. It helps you feel like you can relate to the artist.
For sure.
Makes you understand your emotions more, where they're coming from. just being able to explore all that and understand the origins of where these emotions are coming from.
Well, and also you're able to relate to these artists that like we almost as fans put on pedestals. So it's like you look up to them and then they give you music that you resonate with. It's like, all right, well, I almost kind of feel like we're equal for a second. Like this person can say it exactly what I'm feeling, but in a very artistic way. So it's like, God.
Do you have a specific artist or artists that you go to for when you're in those moods?
Oh yeah, I mean Kid Cudi right there.
Yeah.
That's where the name came from. I mean, I have a lot of different artists that I go to for different things.
Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, you're good.
What makes you gravitate towards Kid Cudi exactly? Anything specific?
So I mean, people might have their varying opinions, but I think for one, he was the first. I really think he was him and Kanye, but he kind of helped Kanye with that album, 808s and Heartbreaks. He was one of the first people in hip hop to make it cool to express your feelings, because before it was like, like what kind of cars you got, what kind of money you got, what kind of bitches you got. It was just kind of like, you want to have this bravado of I'm a man and this is the shit I have. And he was the first one who made music that sounded good and it was about how I felt.
It was real.
Yeah. And so I thought that was just fucking epic because no one did that and he did it well and people at the time loved it. And then lots of people kind of stopped losing their fandom of him because he started exploring different types of music. And I thought that was badass because he could have just kept sticking with what worked and doing hip hop, but he started listening. So one of his biggest influences is Kurt Cobain, which is a totally different thing than hip hop.
Right.
And so he started pulling in from his influence of Kurt Cobain and put out an album that really not a lot of people fucked with, but I thought it was fucking awesome because that album was almost like a suicide note. It was just super vulnerable, and so that album helped me solve a lot of issues because it came at a time when I had a lot of issues.
Okay. Yeah, I can see what you mean there because I love Nirvana. Yeah. And they're one of my go-to artists if I'm feeling down. And Kurt Cobain himself, I have so much respect for the way he looked at the world because, he stuck out. Like he didn't he wore a dress on that one cover of I forget what the magazine was, but completely went against the norms. And he was just real, and I gravitate toward, I love Post Malone, because he kind of has a lot of that music, like that, that flashy jewelry and stuff, but like a few of his songs that are like real deep down. He's a great musician, and like he sings about the soul, and I listen to a lot of his music when I'm down because it just makes me it's like here's this guy, he's about the same age as me, like dealt with a ton of heartbreak, like dealt with a lot of stuff, and just being able to listen to that music and know that millions of other people listen to the same music, like all these people can come together, and like it's just it's a very very fascinating aspect of life, how like music can bring people together like that.
For sure. And so I was talking about it with Jill on her episode. Really, so not only do you gravitate towards the artist, but it's a community, because like you said, you realize that so many other people gravitate to the artists that you do. It's like, well, maybe they are also feeling similar, because I mean, if they all love them as much as I do, there's got to be something we have in common.
Right.
So yeah, music is really powerful. I'm wondering if, because you said really in the last year you started diving deeper into it, were you a big music fan before that, or what made you kind of dive into the arts?
Yeah, I would listen to music. Like going up through high school, I would say my playlist consisted of mostly of like, the Billboard Top 100. Nothing. I wouldn't go in and find like little random independent artists, and then I would find just different music that fit me. And but within this past few years, I started going to concerts and stuff. I went to my first few concerts. I always thought concerts were kind of silly. Like, oh, I'd rather just stay at home, play it on my speaker. But when you actually go to a concert and you feel this energy of just like everyone just standing, the fact that you can get like tens of thousands of people that'll stand up and jump around in an arena and just, I don't know, it's crazy. Like I can't even describe it. And just that power that was behind it, that I felt behind listening to music, and like what it can do for people, how it can make them feel better. I started learning all different types of music. I started going back to 1950s music, like that old style, like really rough sounding music, and then like 1970s. I love classic rock, and I like any music that really sings about the soul. Honestly, I love I always try to listen to the lyrics to the best of my abilities and like try to see what they're singing about. But I'll also listen to a nice song with a good beat, like, and I don't even care what the lyrics are. Like, if I can move and like dance to it, and it's just makes me feel good. It makes you feel more alive. It's beautiful. Music is really beautiful, and so I would say, I found I discovered like a profound beauty in music, and it's awesome.
Yeah, well, and it's tied to dancing, like you were saying, and it's I like your point on concerts, because I understand that they're not for everybody. You know, it might be too crowded for some people. People don't like standing that long. There's drunks and people fucked up on drugs, and people don't like that. But I will say, I mean, I can show you my concert list off the air. I mean, for a good while until this pandemic, I was going to a concert like once a week. Oh, and nice. I didn't even care like if I knew the artist. I mean, there's like places that had like $10, $15 tickets. Just go there. I mean, live music is just, like you said, I really don't have words for it, but I love it so much. And I've spent way more money than I'd be proud to admit on music, but I mean, I would keep doing it because it's just, it makes me feel really good. It's almost like a high for me. And I would say dancing too is like one of those things, and I don't know why it's sometimes like people are like, I don't want to say shameful, but embarrassed to dance.
Yes, 100%.
But it's like, dude, it's so fucking fun. Like if you just start dancing like no one's looking, it's fun.
Yeah, and you just and you lose. You don't really care about what people think about you because like you feel alive, and it's just moving along to the music. It does something to you. But you were saying like people they're embarrassed to, and I think that, and like I know that's the case it was the case for me for a while because I'm like, I'm not a very good dancer, you know, I'm gonna make a fool of myself dancing around. But you know, as you get older a little bit, I think you start to not care as much about that. Like if you're gonna make a fool of yourself, because I mean, I'm being a fool of myself thousands of times. So at this point, it's like, you know, I can make a fool of myself again. You know, I'm gonna keep doing it. Who cares? And so. Like if you I was playing Just Dance the other day with my friends, and like they'll just swing the remote hand around and they won't move their body. I'm like, you got to put your whole body into it. You got to dance to it.
It's way more fun that way.
Yeah.
No, I mean I feel that. So you know how before we got on, I told you like I'm not one that gets super nervous about like speaking or whatever. Dancing was always one thing because I was like, I didn't know. I mean, I definitely wasn't like a good dancer. I could keep rhythm, but I wasn't a good dancer. So it's like for the longest time, like if I was at a wedding, I wouldn't dance. If I was at school, I wouldn't really dance unless I was like
shake your shoulders. Or
something like I wouldn't. I wasn't. If I was at a concert, I definitely wouldn't dance, which is weird because that's like the place to dance. And I'll tell you, honestly, even though I don't have to be drunk to dance now, it was when I started drinking that I stopped caring what people thought about when I danced. And now I can just dance. So I'll dance with no music. I don't care. But dancing makes you feel so good, dude.
It does. It really does. Yeah, and it's at a concert, you know, it's great. At a wedding, it's great. And just even one thing, little mental health tip. In the morning when I go to work, usually like I'll always listen to, you know, my favorite music, and I'll just dance in my car on the way to work, and it just starts me off in a nice positive mood at the beginning of the day. Yeah. And you know, just I'm usually not tired after I do it, and it just puts a smile on your face, and it's like infectious happiness. Yeah,
and I would say singing is pretty much the same thing too. Like I notice myself too if I'm having kind of like, well, not just I'll sing when I'm in a good mood for sure, but if I'm in a bad mood, sometimes I'll throw on my sad music. And then even just singing it, like, I just feel good. Yeah. And you know, I'm not like the greatest singer, but it's just fun to. I think it's like, and I could be completely fucking wrong when I'm talking about this, but to me, I think there's like a science behind like the breathing and singing and like the exercise you get from dancing. Like it just makes you feel good.
Right. Yeah. I mean, people have been doing it for, you know, thousands of years. Even like, you know, like ancient civilizations, they would dance around a fire and chant the music and stuff. And so it's if you ask me, it's a pretty important aspect of human nature is to be able to sing and dance, because it's one of those just very strongly beautiful aspects of life that I think everyone should embrace.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I agree. So one thing I did want to ask, if it's okay, you said before we were on the air, you were always kind of shy. And one thing that I noticed that I think is badass is you definitely have your own style, right? You got the long hair, you got the cool pants on, and that's not something I would normally associate with someone who's shy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think like these arts kind of helped you open up, or what? Like, how did you? Because you don't seem shy to me.
Yeah, I would. Well, like a lot of times, if I'm out in public, even with my friends a lot, I stay quiet a lot. But like if a conversation starts, I'll stay active in it. And I've been trying to come out of my shell more a lot because, I mean, if anyone knew me in high school, they knew I was always quiet and I didn't talk much. And I was just always kind of an introvert. And so, but within the past year or so, I've just been finding more stuff about myself and what interests me and just what makes me happy and what makes me feel alive. And I feel if I can, to the best of my abilities, put that on display or share that with people, like even though like I'm not, I wouldn't say I'm the typical I dress like the normal person or I act like the normal person. I openly admit like I'm weird and I'm a goofball, but I try to encourage that or other people to like bring out their weird side
For sure.
because I really do believe everyone's kind of got a weird side. Some people, I don't think they would like to admit it, but but I think it's great. Like I think it's a wonderful thing. Like everyone's got their own unique little thing about themselves. And like me, I like colorful stuff. I like to wear crazy pants. I like to wear crazy shirts. I love graphic tees. I grew my hair out because mainly because I couldn't get my hair cut during the pandemic, but as I just figured, why not? It's something different. And so I always try to like do something different just because I guess it's just part of my personality. I've always struggled to feel to fit in, I guess I would say, or to relate to other people fully a lot of the times. And so, I just try to express myself as much as as well as I can by doing all this. And yeah, like within the past year, like exploring myself to the arts, I feel that that's brought out a lot more of my individuality.
Yeah, no, I think that's badass. And I was actually saying this to my buddy yesterday. I don't care what somebody's hobby is, their passion is, whatever. If they're passionate about it, that's fucking badass. And I think, especially with fashion too, there's people that have good fashion. They'll wear like the things that are in trend. Mm-hmm. And I think the people that wear what they want to wear have better fashion. If they wear it with confidence, have better fashion than those who just wear, what's in the magazine. Mm-hmm. Because, and honestly, I mean, dude, I can't tell you how many times I've been made fun of for what I wear. And this is a pretty normal outfit. But I like yourself, I have like rainbow shoes. I have cheetah shoes. I will wear what I think looks cool.
Yeah.
And I've been made fun of so many times for it. But it's just like, I mean, that's not bothering me.
Yeah, it's well, I mean, it happens more so in I would say growing up in school, but I would but like people getting like bullied for just like being, like if I wore this when I was in like middle school or something, I might cut some nasty jokes in the hallway. I don't know. You know how kids are.
Yeah, just teasing more.
Right.
So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I just feel, in my experience, it always felt like just growing up, just being a little bit different was somewhat frowned upon, and so I just try to encourage it to people as much as I can. Like if there's a different part about you, maybe you like wearing crazy wacky hats, wear a wacky hat. Just it's all it is someone else's opinions about your style. It's not an indictment on your character or anything like that.
Yeah, and I think it's sweet if you can take those opinions and then literally just say, okay, see ya. Mm-hmm. Like you were saying you never fit in high school, and I think that's the shitty thing about high school is that everyone's trying to fit in, and myself included. Everyone's trying to fit in because they don't want to stand out, and I think as you get older, for one, you stop caring as much, but for two, fitting in is no longer like the cool thing to do. It's more so be yourself and be authentic, and that's the cooler thing to do. So I'm glad, and I don't know if that's an age thing or if that's like the times we're in, but I think personally, what I think is cool is like what you're doing is just don't try to fit in. Maybe some things that you do like are the popular opinion, but maybe some things you do like are weird to people. But who the fuck cares? I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and maybe and like what I found, and you can let me know what you think about this, but like what I found difficult is, like I don't feel it's necessary to always try to fit in. Mm-hmm. But you gotta have people around you. You gotta have that sense of community, and so I feel like there's like this weird line of where like certain aspects of your behavior, like maybe you're super critical of things and you're always like criticizing what everyone has to say. Like it's probably something you should maybe change about yourself, because if you're hanging around with a bunch of people and you're always criticizing what they're doing, they're probably not going to like hanging out with you very much.
Yeah.
And so, but like maybe you could like say like I'm just eccentric and like I like to speak honestly, and you know, I don't care what people think what I have to say. And so like finding that line of where, you know, like what's acceptable, so you can, you know, still feel happy with expressing yourself, like what parts of your personality you feel are crucial to your being and what things that you feel you might have to change, because, you know, you got to have that sense of community.
Yeah.
And you know, you got to find people that you can relate with. And I don't know, would you say, do you have anything to say to that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I agree. Like, I don't like when people say, sorry, I'm just being honest, or sorry, I'm myself, and I'm just blunt. Like, okay, if that's how you feel, fine, but there's some things that you can just keep to yourself,
right?
Like you said, because it's, for one, I think even if you feel that way, in your mind, you know that it's not going to be received well, so why say it, or why do it? To me, how I interact, like, okay, not me personally, but what I like would be like, or what I think should be right, in my opinion, would be how you treat people and how you speak to people and how you interact with people should be kind of about fitting in, right? Like, you should be kind, genuine, and authentic, those things. But how you express yourself shouldn't be fitting in. It should be, unless that's just the way you are. Like, it should just be about whatever you want it to be about. Because, like, you could, let's just say you want to wear a fucking pink dress, a purple tutu, like, that shit shouldn't affect how you and I interact with each other. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I think, like you were saying, there's different pockets of which you need to kind of, what's the word I'm thinking of? Behave so that way you do fit in terms of how you treat people. But then on the inverse, the cool part of not fitting in is how you express yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, right.
So that would be my thoughts on that.
Okay.
On that part.
Okay, that's fair.
But you were saying that you've, in this past couple of years or year and a half or so, you've been trying to kind of really question yourself and learn more about yourself. And so I'm interested to hear kind of what that journey has been like.
It's stressful, painful, difficult, but rewarding, and probably, you know, these past years probably been one of the best years of my life, because I would say I was running away from like dealing with a lot of demons and just you know, stuff from childhood. You know, everyone's got that bag on their shoulder. Everyone's carrying around that sack, but a lot of it for me was difficult to deal with, and so I've been it's been difficult trying to deal with some things. Like, I've been trying to reflect on what things I'm doing wrong, like what things that maybe I need to change my perspective on, because I would never say like I was fully depressed. I would deal with like bouts of it. I would say it was kind of like a roller coaster. I would have pretty low lows, and then like I would come up for a little bit and like go back down. So I was just like trying to like get out of that. And so I was dedicating like almost all my free time to like watching like different philosophical videos, like listening to music, exploring new hobbies, stuff like that. And like I said, like exploring my demons and stuff, and why I said like the past year has been so difficult. It's a lot to take in to like realize like what you might be doing wrong, or like what aspects of your behavior might not be so healthy for the people around you. And you know, I don't want to like downplay what like the things that people go through, but just like the stuff that I had to deal with and trying to overcome it, it was I always I have like this martyr complex, and I always feel bad even if I'm going through a difficult time and I'm hurting someone else, even if it's in the most minor way. I beat myself up about it, and like I try to be perfect, and it's not healthy. And so I've been trying to like figure out like how can I be better, you know, what things can I change. And the thing that was torturing me for the longest time was that I was trying to be perfect, and like I'm like, if I'm not perfect, you know, the next week or next month or whatever, then like I don't know like where I'm gonna go, but like I'm starting to be more at ease with it now and understanding that it's a daily thing. Like there's small improvements you can make every single day. And it's just like putting money into a savings account. The more you put in, it's going to gain interest over time. And things will, it'll pay off in the end. You just got to keep going at it one day at a time. And so that's why it's been so stressful. And, or the past year has been so stressful, but I said it was the most rewarding because I feel now after navigating through all those murky waters, I feel much more well equipped to deal with whatever challenge life throws at me next, because I know there's going to be another one. There always is. There always is.
That's the miracle of life, right? That's the beauty of it.
Right.
So what made you want to go on this kind of path of self-discovery? Did you hit like a really low low and you're just like, all right, something has to change, or?
Well, school, I envy people who know what they want to do for the rest of their lives, because that was one thing that, and I still haven't necessarily figured out what I want to do. And, I went to, when I graduated from high school, I went to college because, like, that was what you did. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really question it. I'm like, oh, I'm going to college, going to get a degree, and then get a high-paying job. And then I'm going to live happily ever after. But I went, my first degree was for aviation management technology. I didn't know anything about airplanes. I just looked through the major list. I was like, oh, aviation, that sounds cool. Did that, tried it for a semester, hated it. And then I tried history. I was going to be a history teacher because I love history, and did a year of that. Didn't really like it. I like the aspect of teaching, but just the history, it didn't connect with me. And then I went into special education because at Franklin, I don't know if you remember the class or if you took it. There was a community service class where like in the morning I would go into the special education classroom and just help the kids with their journals in the morning and whatever activity. I was just an assistant basically. And I was like, I had a lot of fun doing that. Special education teacher, that sounds fun. And tried that and had a lot of great experiences working with the kids and whatnot. But I never I never felt like a strong passion to really do it. And I struggled. I always got great grades, like A's and B's. Like it wasn't like I didn't want to try in school. It was just, it was hard for me to find the motivation to really like fully invest, most of my time into this field. And I was doing student teaching for about a year in Northville at Meads Mill Middle School in Northville, and at the beginning of 2020. And after doing it for about a month, I felt it wasn't for me. I couldn't feel the passion for it, and I just instinctively I always try to tell myself like when you're uncertain, go with your gut. And honestly, so far my gut hasn't let me down, and like it's unfortunate that I didn't go to be a teacher. I can, I won't go into reasons for specifically why I didn't want to do teaching, sure. But just basically I felt that it wasn't right for me, and so I politely told my cooperating teacher that it wasn't for me, and I had left, and then mostly for this past year, I've been on this like journey to confront my mental health and try to be a better master of it, I guess, for lack of a better term, and find what I am passionate about. And I have found things that I'm passionate about, and if anyone's listening and like and they can resonate with this and they're looking for that sense of passion, what I did, I just started trying things. Like I bought a ukulele. Like I tried to start playing a ukulele. I tried wood carving. I started painting, and like painting has been like a godsend for me because I started painting at the end of September of 2020, and since I've made like over 50 paintings. Damn. Because I honestly love it. It's like one of the only things like I've like felt that sense of passion that I was looking for, and it's probably not going to make a career out of it because it's really hard to be an artist, and honestly mostly I just do it for myself. and it gives me a sense of purpose, and it makes me feel passionate about something. And then also things like this, talking, like I've gotten really into philosophy, like talking about like deep spiritual stuff, religions from all around the world, just spirituality in general, and just like different perspectives, and just learning about different perspectives on like the meaning of life, and like how to live in such a crazy world.
Yeah.
And that's what has helped give me passion. And I think maybe something like this, something like a podcast, something where ideas can be discussed, and can talk about like the beauty of life, like just finding things that are beautiful, and like communicating those ideas with other people. That's what I found has been the most profound for me in this journey. And I went through a lot of trials and tribulations, and like I still got a lot more to learn, but yeah, it's been a crazy year, but I feel much more at peace of where I'm at now.
Yeah, no, I think Ross said it well in his first episode that everyone should have a podcast, whether people listen or not.
Right.
That, I mean, it's just a way for you to get out your thoughts and think through some things, and then if you have guests, maybe learn from them as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a form of expression, like you said. But I will say, I don't know if I want to use this word, but lots of times when people think about, they don't know what they want to do, or they didn't finish school, or they don't have a job lined up, it's shameful, and it shouldn't be, because I would say, in my opinion, I think people sometimes would go their whole life and still not knowing what they wanted to do, or regretting that they didn't try to figure out what they like to do. Mm-hmm. So I think it's envious. I'm envious that you can recognize that you tried a few things, it wasn't for you, and it's hard to do that because, like, in this world, people want to have things that come with having a job, like money and all these, things.
There's a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah, so it's like, well, fuck, I have a path here, but is this what I want to do? I don't know, but it's paying the bills. It's getting me things I want. So it's like trying to like navigate that is super, super tough. And I haven't figured it out. Like,
it's so like, but either way you go, like, you're gonna have to make a sacrifice. It's like, if like, it's great. Like, I know a lot of my friends, like, they've got, like, they're getting married, they got houses and stuff, and like, I do envy that. I would like to have all that, and because as growing up as a kid, you kind of had this vision that you're going to be set, or you're going to be, all ready to go by the time you're 25. Yeah, you're just gonna, and you just think everything's going to be great and dandy. But then, and then on the flip side, if you want to do more laid back, like, find the hobbies that you're interested in, and then, like, probably not going to make as much money. It's probably going to take more time to get those things, unless you're super creative and maybe you have a lot of money. But anyway, the point is, either way, you're kind of sacrificing something, and I think like, you just kind of have to figure out which sacrifice you're comfortable with, and then, like, figure out along the way as you grow up, how you can kind of incorporate. Because I always feel like there's always, like, that thing missing. There's always something out there that you're kind of yearning for.
Mm-hmm.
And you just always kind of have to be attentive to that and see, like, all right, like, what can I do? What can I explore to fulfill this, whatever this hole is, in my life.
Yeah, and I think it's badass that you're able to recognize that and then act on it, because I think a lot of people recognize, like, if they're in a situation where it's like, am I passionate about this? Am I happy doing this? Could I see myself doing this long term? And then where that ends is, I'm comfortable with the things I have because of it, so I'll just stay in it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's badass that when somebody can be like, no, I don't like this. I'm not passionate about this. And although it's providing me comfort in other aspects of my life, the thing that I spend most of my time on, I do not enjoy. So I'm going to go try something else. Because that is, I think that's a superpower, honestly, because it's so many people are trapped into this shit that they don't like because it.
And the thing about it is, it's terrifying because of, like in my own mindset, like, when I made the decision to, like, stop teaching or, like, not go for teaching, I was just about to graduate. I could could be teaching right now if I wanted to, but it was terrifying like you were describing, like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna enjoy this the rest of my life, or if I'm gonna really see myself doing this for a while, or maybe I'm making a mistake leaving this, like maybe I'm just scared, like maybe I'm scared I'm gonna fail at it or whatever. And so it's really like a leap of faith. Like you don't know how it's gonna turn out, but it's people are strong. Whichever way you go, I think people generally will always get it figured out. It just takes time, and that's what because I still don't have it figured out. I'm nowhere close to having it figured out.
Yeah.
And so, it's a long journey. It's a long journey.
Yeah, and I would say I don't think anyone at our age has it figured out. And if they say they do, I really don't think they do.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just a pessimistic view, but I think.
No, I think that's accurate. I mean, we're so young. I mean, how could we? There's so much yet to experience in life. You can only know so much.
And that doesn't mean you can't be happy with where you're at.
Right.
But like, is that exactly what you're doing right now? Exactly what you want to do the entire rest of your life? And if you can say it is, then fucking hats off to you, because I think that's awesome. But I think another thing that makes it so hard to jump out of to what's comfortable, right, and to maybe not stick with something that could pay dividends is we compare ourselves to others. It's like, all right, well, I could get my degree here and then kind of be on track with everybody else in my age bracket, or I explore something else and now I'm behind, because we compare ourselves to others and everyone else's timeline, or even our own timelines from before. Like it's funny because I'll explain. But when I was a kid, and even throughout high school, I'm like, all right, I'm going to get married and have kids by like 25. I'm 24. I'm telling you what, I'm not having kids anytime soon. So, and I was like, I'm going to have a job. I'm going to have all these things. And then you get to this age and it's like, all right, slow down. Like, I don't want all those things. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out me. Yeah. I'm still trying to do like fun things, creative things. So it's like, one thing that's helped me is like, even though I'm still kind of figuring out what I want to do with my career, and I like the job I have now, what's kind of helped me anyway, kind of not have a void, is my kind of passion projects on the side. So something like this, or I've dabbled in like if you want to call it community outreach type work. I enjoy that stuff. Or I've experimented with making music and putting that out for people. That shit like that, where it's like, all right, I'm still figuring out what I want to do with my career, but I still have time to do these fun hobbies that I'm passionate about. Is kind of keeping me level set.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, because it's like people wondering what they're gonna do for the rest of their lives, and it could take time. It can take years. But there are things readily available in front of you that you can start doing, like you doing the podcast and doing all the stuff that you were saying. And so it's kind of like maybe not the right term, it's like a stopgap solution until you find that big profound thing. It's like, it gives, it may not be as big as profound, but if you're doing it every day, almost every day, doing something every day, anything every day, that's a lot of something. And if that's giving you happiness every single day, then more power to you.
Yeah, but in the same token, I mean, there's still that question every day in the back of my head of, all right, do I feel like what I'm doing adds value? Am I passionate about it? Do I philosophically believe in what I'm doing? And that's kind of like, you can't turn that switch off. So you can do things like a stopgap solution where you can still express yourself and do things that you want to do just for fun. But it's almost kind of like, well, could I make what I'm doing for fun my career? Or is there things within my career that I do think align with me, philosophically or just passionately? So it's like trying to find that smooth line.
Would you say, like I was saying, like if I could make a career out of painting, it'd be great. But one thing, just with the available resources to me, I found that you're always gonna kind of have to do something to a certain extent that you don't want to.
Yeah,
it's like I work long hours at my job. I work 6 hours a week, but like got to pay for bills, got to do this and that, and it's like you're always gonna have to kind of sacrifice that. Like I think that's probably one of the first things it's important for people to realize, is that whatever you want to do, it's probably not all going to be perfect. You're going to have to deal with some some crap along the way, or
Yeah.
you're gonna have to sacrifice some of your your me time.
Yeah, and one thing I would say to kind of build off that is people always say, like, find something you like to do and then make a career out of it and you'll never work a day in your life. And that could be true, but I almost feel like if I wasn't doing this shit for fun and I started having, like, metrics around certain things, it's almost like, would I even enjoy it anymore? Like, is it better for me to keep things that I do for fun separate from things I do professionally?
Yeah.
And then, maybe have some cross balance of it, but I almost don't, like, it's almost like I don't want to formalize what I do for fun. I just want to just do it.
Right.
So
you don't want it to be like a job. It's just
exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I enjoy it more than a job. So it's like, well, maybe I would enjoy it as a job. I just don't know because it's the unknown.
Yeah. The unknown's terrifying. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It could be, if you go for it, it could be the best decision you ever make. It could be the worst decision you ever make. It's that's the scary thing about it, and it's all about weighing your options. Like, is it really worth it? And whenever I make those decisions, I always try to think like 5 years down the road, and like give each argument like its due diligence, like pros and cons. Like, maybe I really want to spend my next 5 years painting, but maybe that's not so realistic. I'm gonna need to allocate my time a little bit more to something else. So I try to like picture each scenario like 5 years down the road, and like try to put together the most optimistic scenario for each, like the end point, and see which one, weigh the options and see which one might be better for me, and depending on the severity of the decision, I'll weigh my options and I'll go for it if I want to. But it's I always try to like picture things 5 years down the road and see.
Okay.
And see where things might end up. Yeah.
See, it's interesting you say that, because I will say I was always one that would definitely, plan ahead. Like, looking at what's ahead. All right, here's what I want to be. Let's set goals to get there. And I'm trying, and for some reason, I'm trying now to live more like presently.
Presently, yeah.
And I don't know which ways. Like, I don't know if one of them has to be better than the other. But I don't know which one works best for me, because when I have goals, then I stay focused to get there, but I'm also more stressed about it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if stress is a good thing or a bad thing, but it doesn't feel great.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm just kind of able to live in the moment, which I can't do very successfully often, I most of the time am looking ahead, it does feel good. It's almost like a euphoria where it's just like, all right, I'm just existing and I'm happy with where I'm at. But that doesn't happen often. So I'm trying to do more of that, but it's hard because you set goals and you're like, all right, well, I can't just fuck off and stop working. I have to do these things.
Right, yeah. You can't just... because you're taking care of yourself at like different points in time. Like,
exactly.
Like, you're taking care of yourself now, but you also need to worry about yourself a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, And so you you gotta weigh options. You gotta see, what am I doing right now that's gonna affect me in the long term, and but am I doing anything right now that's hurting me in the present?
Yeah, you can't be reckless with what you're doing now. If it's fun now, and I mean, that's a lesson I learned, because I did shit to kind of take my mind off things a few years back, and it was really fun at the time, but I was being reckless because I was utilizing all of my credit.
Mm-hmm.
And then time came where I had to fucking pay the piper, and I'm like, well, this sucks. Being reckless, it always gets you. Yeah. You're not going to avoid it. So it's that's one of those things where I wish I would have kind of like, all right, I need to kind of check and balance what I'm doing here, because I can have a little bit of fun, but also I don't want to fuck myself over and create this huge problem that I'll have to fix afterwards.
Yeah.
So trying to find that is also difficult. But I will say, if you want to dive into it, another topic that hasn't been spoken about now, and I'm curious to hear about it, is how to be successfully single and why you wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, so I've been broken up with my ex-girlfriend since September. So what is that? 7 months about?
Okay.
Yeah, and we were together for 3 years, and it was my first like long-term relationship, and just getting out of that and like making that transition of and like having someone there for 3 years to just go to with whatever, and then all of a sudden like just kaput, like it's not there anymore, and just learning to cope with those emotions. It's a lot to deal with, because I think humans, we're like we crave love. You always want love. Like I know, like I'm an introvert. I love my alone time, but I'd be kidding myself if I said if I said that I don't have to spend time with other people. Like, I need to spend time with other people. It's, I think it's an important part of maintaining your mental health. And so just learn, and especially with the pandemic, and a lot of people, just staying cooped up inside all day, and especially, like a lot of people got divorced, like during the pandemic. Like there's a lot of people are, they don't have that partner anymore, or maybe they didn't have one in the first place, and when you're single and you have that craving for love, and learning how to cope with that, and not do things that are damaging your self-worth. It's just, I found it's best to find things that make you, that are improvement oriented, like, or centered around improving your mental health or your physical health or whatever it may be. Like I exercise a lot more, and like, with everything that I've been saying, painting, reading, listening to podcasts, just kind of, to the best of your abilities, making small improvements to your life and learning how to love yourself. Because I don't think I think that's a prerequisite to being in a good relationship.Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel that I always struggle to love myself. And so I always wonder, like, how can I love someone else if I can't even love myself, And so, and in the past few months, I've wanted to, go out and talk to girls and, potentially go on a date, but I figured maybe it's best to like really like focus on like what I can do to improve my life and make myself feel worthwhile in my daily life and what I'm doing, and so that I'm trying my best not to drag anyone else down, because I think I was doing that to an extent with my ex-girlfriend. I think I was letting my issues bring her down as well, and and that's another thing. Like, if you get out of if there's anyone out there that's gotten out of a relationship, even if the other person was like unfair to you in some way, like me, I'm young, and like a lot of young couples that break up, there's almost always going to be some things that you could have done better.
100%.
Yeah, and so I've been trying to take inventory of those things and imagine what things I need to change about myself, so whatever relationship I get into in the future, I don't bring those things back to the table.
Yeah, and coming to grips with those things is, for one, hard to identify unless they specifically tell you.
Mm-hmm.
And then even if they do tell you, it's hard to like accept.
Yeah, it shatters your ego for sure.
It humbles you real, especially if like you feel like you were spited at first,
mm-hmm.
like you feel like you were wronged, and then you might keep that feeling for a while. It's different for everybody, but then once you get to the point where it's like, all right, I didn't hate that person before, so let me kind of self-analyze and figure out what went wrong, and what part did I play, because I think it always takes two.
Yeah.
And that is real fucking hard, but I'll tell you what, once you do that, you feel a little bit shitty about yourself, but then you start feeling better about the other person. Right. And that's the thing, is like, once you start feeling better about the other person, then you can start feeling better about the whole situation, and you're like, all right, well, it's unfortunate it happened,
mm-hmm.
but now I'm learning from it, and hopefully they're doing the same, and hopefully, like, that fucking, like, hatred or just
resentment,
resentment between the two parties can, like, kind of dissolve.
Yeah, and there might even be, like, definitely, I mean, there's, I'm sure you've known people, I mean, there's plenty of examples, but people who split off, there's plenty of reasons to be resentful.
Sure.
And you have your reasons, that's, but I think you really need to try to forgive that person. That's not to say like forgive them and get back together with them. It's like, let go of that hate, let go of that resentment, and like try to understand how things got to that point where you're so angry at each other, where like you want to like tear each other's throat out. It's like, think about how it got to that point so it doesn't happen again. Yeah. It's like, I wouldn't, whatever relationship I get into in the future, I wouldn't want any of the things that happen to me to happen again, because it's a lot to handle.
Fuck yeah. And I think humans naturally, we put up these walls. So it's like, and not just relationships, but friendships, any type of relationship in general, family member, friend, significant other, as soon as there's a butting of heads or a disagreement, well, instantly we go on the defense and we're like, well, there's an issue because of this person.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's natural. I think we naturally do it, and it's unfortunate. But being able to put down that wall and think of the possibility of how it could have been better. Because I was actually having this conversation too. Like, lots of times you hear people saying, and more so for friendships, because, I mean, the relationships, people, 9 times out of 10, it is a bad break, right? Mm-hmm. Friendships, it's always like, oh, we've fallen out of touch because, like, I just didn't feel like I owed them an apology, so I'm not going to do that. It's like, okay, maybe you don't owe them an apology, but you owe them a conversation at least. So talk through it, and before you go on before you're the aggressor, just say, what did I do that made you feel upset with me? Mm-hmm. And then don't premeditate a response. Just fucking listen, and then maybe if they care, they'll ask you what they did, and then you have that. And whether you're friends after that or not, well, now you've left with some honesty, knowing about what you did that, you got made a clean conscience. Yeah. And even if you don't agree, like, I've had this scenario where we've done that, and I'm like, I really don't understand what I did. I really don't understand it. Please tell me. And then they'll tell me, and I'm still just like, I still don't understand it, but I can change. Like, I know what made you mad, but I don't understand why it made you mad. So I can change what I did. You know what I mean?
Like, at least you have some basis of understanding, even if it's not entirely full. You have some basis of understanding where they're coming from. Yeah. And so you can kind of keep that in the back of your head and keep that in mind for future encounters with them and see how things go. But yeah, talking about things and having honest, open communication is with good friends or being in a good relationship. That's how you figure out the people that care about you most. I think is if you're able to have those, and you're gonna fight with people. I mean, growing up, you're fighting with your family members the whole time growing up. You're always gonna fight with the people that you love. But if you're able to come back together and like understand each other and just hear each other out, then that's a good thing.
Yeah, I would agree. I also think just through this conversation, I've actually just thought of this. So when people are upset, right, they need a friend to vent to. They need. I would honestly say, like, if there's an issue in a relationship of any kind, it's not so much that, like, you even want an apology. It's almost like, I want you to listen to me tell you how I feel. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I think that fixes a lot of things because, again,
just to acknowledge the person's pain or whatever they're
just let them get it out. Because lots of times, if there's an argument, it's like, I don't want to fucking hear, or like it just turns personal, and like you're not even arguing about like the actual problem. You're just throwing hate, right? Mm-hmm. But if it's just like, all right, tell me, and I'll listen. Mm-hmm. Even if like you kind of still leave that conversation like not back on good terms, well, that person got out what they wanted to say, and I guarantee you they feel much better for it.
Yeah, there's this good practice. It's hard to do, but there's this good little practice you can do in a conversation to like help understand each other better. I learned from this guy named Jordan Peterson. But it's if you're having a conversation with someone, like it's a difficult conversation, and like after you've explained yourself to each other, you have the other like if you said something to me, I would have to recite like the summary of what you were trying to say, and then you would say, oh yeah, that's what I mean, or like no, like you missed a few things there. And then if I'm able to correctly recite what you're trying to say, then like that shows I understand what you say, that I understand what you say, and then that provides a good basis for the discussion going forward, because you both perfectly stated what the other person believes prior to the conversation beginning. Because there's always like that. I think people kind of get in their heads when a conversation starts and they start making points, and then they jump to conclusions, and they think the other person had this intended meaning when that really wasn't the case at all. And so, and it's hard to do because I've noticed that's a problem of mine. A lot of times I'll jump to conclusions for people for them, and like I need to stop and check myself and be like, okay, like I gotta remember, like I'm not talking right now. Like this is this person's individual story. Like they've had vastly different experiences that I have in life. They might not look at things the exact same way that I do. So I need to like sit back and understand that not everyone thinks the same way that I do. That like people approach things differently, and so I always try to, if I can, recite people what they're trying to say to them, just so I know we're on the same page.
100%. That's like a really effective communication / listening tool is to do that, because like you said, lots of times once you hear a certain thing, well, I'm no longer listening. I'm thinking of my response to say back, and that's where confusion stems from. It's just like, and that's why I do it a lot with like text. If I ever have like a conversation with somebody that doesn't go so well over text, I'll go back and read through it. And I'm just like, okay, well, now I have a different perspective, because I was sometimes, even with text, you have it there and you're still responding without actually really reading and like absorbing what it means.
So I don't text all that often anymore, mainly because of that.
Yeah.
It's because I mean, like a 10-minute text conversation is a 1-minute conversation on the phone. Like I just prefer talking to people. It's just so much easier, and and it's just you avoid, or generally you avoid any like miscommunication if you're talking on the phone. Yeah,
but I do like that practice of saying it back, and I think some people would think that's like unnecessary. It's like, oh, I know what he said, but it's like, really? Can you recite it? Because it's just like the game of telephone.
Yeah.
You say something that can be very simple, and look how many times it can be misconstrued, and then you get it back to the beginning. It's like, that wasn't at all what I said. And in the same line, if we're having a conversation, I say something, yeah, sure, it's going to one person, it's not going to be translated that much worse, but your response is going to be responding to something differently, and then I'm going to be responding to something that was responded to differently from you know what I mean? So it's like telephone of responses.
Right.
So by the time you get to the end of the conversation, that really didn't even address what the first initial start of the conversation was. So I mean, that practice would be good, I think.
Especially in today with, I mean, we were talking earlier about, all the disagreements everyone has. I mean, go on Facebook, you know what everyone's talking about. Just if people would do more stuff like that, like, because people are on totally opposite sides of this whatever spectrum of the topic they're talking about, they could come together and try to, at first, before engaging in a conversation, try to understand where the other person is coming from, because everyone believes what they believe for a reason. It may not be exactly well informed, but there's they probably have at least a decent reason to believe what they believe.
Yeah, and in talking through it, they can either solidify that reason, or they can learn, okay, well, what he's saying and the facts he's presenting actually makes more sense to me in my internal being. So maybe
if they're being honest in their reflection,
and they're respectfully listening,
right?
But and I mean, on social media it's hard too, because then people can throw in like slang, or not slang, well, slang too, but sarcasm. So it's like, I don't know if he was actually meaning what he meant. Like sarcasm's a tricky bitch too. But anyway, so I did want to give a chance to talk about your mental health tip. I know you've said a few, but I have a feeling you have a good answer. So one thing I always like to kind of bring this to a close on is the guest mental health tip. So anything that you do to kind of step back from that ledge if you're having a bad day, or you do periodically or daily to help achieve good mental health.
The most important thing I would recommend, I would say, that's been, and I'm speaking from personal experience, is to find or create a relationship with beauty in the world. And for me, that was with painting and music and dancing, and since in doing so, I actually get pretty excited to wake up every day now, whereas I would say for the past year or so, at times that was really hard to do, to want to wake up, and I would dread the day sometimes, and it's hard to describe what that means exactly, finding, like, creating a relationship with beauty. But I think most people generally know it's like if you've cried at the end of a beautiful movie, or you've heard a beautiful song and you were just moved by it, like creating a relationship with beauty and trying to carry that out into different aspects of your life, that's going to make your life a hell of a lot better. I can guarantee it.
I like that tip. And I mean, that's one thing that I think is inevitable, is having those beautiful moments, like crying at the end of the movie, or you hear a song, you can't help but get chills. But then not only having those, but embracing it, and then, like you said, making a relationship,
exploring those feelings, like, what does that mean, it opens your mind. It opens your mind. It really does.
I like that. It's a good tip, Marlon. So with that, thank you for coming on the podcast. I really enjoyed talking with you. If do you have anything you want to plug, anything you want to promote?
Live life Live life, have fun.
Okay, I mean that's simple as that, but it's something we can all do. So, thank you again coming on. If you want to be a guest on this podcast, please contact me. How any way you can. The podcast name is TIMM Podcast. Sorry, that's the Instagram name and the Facebook name. I suck at these. Anyway, like and subscribe, review, comment, give me feedback, good and bad, anything like that. Until next week, guys. Thank you.